sometimes families, you know, we have disputes. Truth be told, every time I vote, I'm making somebody mad, right? And no matter how simple the vote may seem. But the thing is about process is improving it. We did a couple little things different. I had a couple little tweaks. Like I said, not having a team in place, getting ready for the state of the city, getting ready for something in the water, you know, which involved a lot of time in preparation, and then being right in the middle of a budget cycle, you know, had its challenges. But one thing we did the other day, we actually carved out about 45 minutes or so for the council to talk to each other before we go to reconciliation. We actually were able to, you know, nip certain things in the bud at that point, and also made a recommendation that John Moss is going to be sitting down with Louis Jones to see if we can, you know, let's try to find out what we have in common and what we can do. But one thing I want to do after this budget cycle is sit down and have an after action thing and say, okay, what's wrong with this picture? Is there a way that we can improve the process? And one of the things I'm thinking about doing is engaging Dr. Cook's Center for Civic Engagement at ODU. Because when you bring in academics, you know, they have an oversight and a credibility and a reliability, you know, that I think would help give the public some, you know, confidence in what we're doing. But, you know, a lot of times we do things, and you have to understand that we hear from many sides, many people who are giving us inputs constantly. If I got paid by the email, I would be driving a Lexus. And sometimes people send me a love grams, and it's not so well. Right? But that's why they pay me the big bucks. But going forward, you know, what kind of city do we want to be years from now? And if I can just say, and I got to give a lot of credit to a lot of people. Last October, I was called to a meeting with Pharrell Williams, and he came up with a vision about something that he wanted to do. And boy, was it ambitious. Boy, was it, you know, just the magnitude of this thing was incredible. And, you know, and we had this stigma with the college weekend. We cannot dance around that. That was a problem weekend that reflected bad, that sent out bad vibes all over the country about our city. It's not my city, it's our city. So I always came up with this saying, trying to be the eternal optimist. Through adversity, find opportunity. So I said, let's go for it, okay? And then that was in October, I got elected, and then, you know, we started, you know, things going forward, and it came to it. And I'll tell you what, once again, the good, the bad, and the ugly was trying to get ready for this thing. But guess what happened? You know, through a work of a lot of people, you know, Pharrell's vision and the people that he knew, the city staff. Do you know what it was like for me as the mayor, walking around and seeing the public high-fiving the cops in the street, and cops dancing to the music, police, fire, EMS. And, you know, I was interviewed by a news agency, and they said, what do you think? And I said, oh yeah, there was something in the water, but there was something in the air. There was positivity. And when I was standing on the stage before Pharrell came on, and I looked out to the crowd and saw this sea of humanity, that was a mosaic, once again, of everybody in this country. And everybody was unified by music, having a good time. And, you know, I'll tell you what, you know, that was one of the most touching things that I saw in my life. The secret, my friends, is keeping the positivity going. To keep this city of inclusion going and diversity, let everybody know that they're welcome here. Now, as mayor, I have another view as I take a little bit of water. And it's not Jackie Gleason type water, if you know what I mean, if you remember that. I play chess, not checkers, but I really don't play chess. I haven't figured out the rules yet. Economic development. being a city of inclusion and positivity. We made a statement to the rest of Virginia, the rest of the country and the world that we're open for business. Pharrell got on a morning show yesterday, I think it was Good Morning America, and said Virginia Beach is open for business. We had a number of people from Sony, Adidas. I met the regional president, East Coast president of Verizon, who was going to come here. I did a groundbreaking yesterday, a company called Point One, a high-tech company. And the woman president came up to me and said, I understand Virginia Beach is a city of yes, and we want to be here, okay? This is what we want, because you know something? The biggest challenge we have is our ratio of residential property to industrial property, which really pays the taxes. We've got to change that ratio. And we've been talking about it since I've lived in Virginia Beach, but the point now is something has to be done. We have a $2.2 billion budget. We have a $3.7 billion obligation for stormwater. We have a $3 billion obligation for schools, replacement and modernization. We have 100 school buildings in the city of Virginia Beach. Joe Bella can tell you our transportation system is woefully lacking. And trust me, I was not a champion of light rail. But you know why? I said there's better ways that we can do this thing that'll be more effective, more efficient, and cheaper. We just got to figure out ways. You take a look at our aging infrastructure. We are an aging city, both in terms of people and infrastructure. Take a look at me. I haven't had a chance to get a haircut in the last 2 weeks. Like I'm starting to look like the guy in the Naked Gun movies. Okay? And but you just got it. There you go. But the point is, our roads, our sewers. I was just with a group on before I came here on 17th Street. Their sewers are lacking, the flooding there and everything. And we got to think about the people, because more people are retiring here. And but once again, one of the biggest demands that we have facing us are the needs by Health and Human Services, where people requiring subsistence. We have 400 people, 400 kids in the school system that are from homeless families. But once again, with aging people going on Medicaid and everything. And here is the problem, and this is why we have the challenge. We're not getting the money from the feds or the state the way we were or the way we should. And I'm not making an excuse, but I'm saying that's it. And somehow we're going to be expected, to fill in the gaps. And but once again, the way I want to do it going forward, we got to bring folks to the table. And even after the budget is finished, it's going to be a bit of a contentious. There's going to be some give and take. And even with the last one, with the combination, the budget that we did have, there were people who were happy and there were people who were not. And but I'm just going to be upfront and say, and I applaud John Moss for working and trying to think of things, and hopefully him and Lewis. Collaboration is what we're going to need more of, but way ahead of time. One of the things I am going to be doing almost immediately, as far as the promises I made, I'm going to be having an improvement, hopefully, with I'm going to reconstitute the Green Ribbon Commission and put people on it to work on resiliency, stormwater, and things like that. That's a problem we got to deal with. I had a friend of mine invited me to his house out in Pungo a couple of weeks ago. It hardly rained, but the wind brought, all kinds of stuff there. As a home care physical therapist, with Hurricane Matthew, I was in those homes. Where I saw water up to the toilet bowl lips. And it was heartbreaking. But there's certain things we can't do. When I was the Centerville guy, Rosemont Forest section, right off Bridle Creek Road off Lynn Haven and Indian River. They built their homes a foot and a half below floodplain many years ago when R.G. Moore was, doing stuff. We got them through the Grace of Council, a $6.5 million pump station. Okay, for years it worked. But if you recall, prior to Matthew, we had two major, 500-year storm events. The water table was high. In spite of the pump station, $6.5 million, the water had nowhere to go. So we got to think, stormwater became one of my priorities. I actually did a contract about stormwater as one of my things, about leveling the playing field to make sure everybody, not just a certain few, had access to the city. And the other thing is too, was a commitment, and Reed and I were talking about the public safety. And we are one of the safest, we are the safest city of the city our size. And I'll tell you what, do a ride along sometime if you want to get an eye-opening experience, especially at the oceanfront bars closing time on a summer, okay? And find out what these men and women go through. I am confident that there's going to be a fix, and it's going to be without having to raise any taxes or fees to pay for that one. So we are trying. We are trying. But once again, it's the type of thing, and I'm going to be working more with John Moss. I told him if we get the thing in. But one of the things I did commit to, was the Dome project a while ago. And I'm going to tell you what, it's controversial. And I've been in front of you, the Tea Party before and explaining to you. My number one mission is to bring in new wealth to this city. New wealth, not distributed wealth. I'll give you an example. That wonderful new Wegmans we got. What's it going to do to the Walmart and the fresh farms across the store, across the way, fresh market? Okay, so that's kind of the distribution thing. We've got to bring in new things. Now, one of the things that when the Dome people about 2 years came to me, said, "What do we got to do to get this passed?" And I said, engage with the people. Get out and talk to folks, okay? There hasn't been one application in the Centerville district that went through that wasn't vetted with the locals first. So I think they had something like 30-some odd engagement. I remember them being in front of the Tea Party, Taxpayers Alliance. They went to where a lot of folks didn't go, and one of the things we got to do, and I know it's going to increase some debt and everything, but what it does a couple things. It shows that we're open for business, and it also generates positive cash flow, projected to be at least $6 million a year. And then hopefully, when people start seeing Virginia Beach as a place to come, now that we got the broadband in, we got to exploit this stuff. So I'm just being upfront and saying, this was a commitment I made. You heard it on the campaign stuff. You heard it in my State of the City. We're going to have a difference in philosophies at times, but be assured I'm always going to be willing, to come here and kind of explain things. Another controversial one is whether we should do the new City Hall right now. Let me tell you my number one reason, and I know some folks, but even delaying it, I think the real stormwater bills are going to be coming in about 4 or 5 years. My wife has a rough time being allergic to mold. She rarely comes to my office because when she comes in, she gets sick. The other thing is I want a larger gallery. I want every council person is going to have their own office security. And then, once again, this is going to be the people's house. And, trust me when I say if you go on a tour of the building, it's got some problems. But when I'm telling you, you can talk to my wife. My wife has been in City Hall 3 times since I have been on council. And every time she goes home with headaches. Okay, and I'm not lying. And, and I was talking to a former employee that was there for a while. They do have some problems. But once again, this is a philosophy thing. You know, it's like pay me now or pay me later. And then, you know, the cost of construction years from now, I don't know. But once again, these are things that, you know, we got to discuss as a thing. But if you recall, even with the failed arena project, we had 6 civic engagements, and I was one of the ones that helped conduct them. When we were talking about moving town hall to town center, I was the one that facilitated the town hall meeting where people said, no, we don't want it here. And I went back to council and was taken right off the table. So yeah, we do listen to you. And I listened the other day when that fireman said, folks, you've been telling us for how many, 14, 15 years that you promised you were going to do something next year. And they're going to try to do, you know, it was going to be done again. I try to keep my promises. But the other thing is, I just hope you all realize that being a mayor, you know, sometimes you got to go with the grain, against the grain. And, you know, sometimes, you know, things are going to be not the way everybody wants, but let's explain it to people. But the other thing is, I'm going to commit right up front, we're going to improve the process. We made some subtle changes already. Like I said, we had the, you know, the pre-council retreat get together. Julie Hill, our media and communication person, is doing a banner job of using the new technologies. You know, at the state of the city, and you know, trust me, you know, yeah. When I was working on my doctorate in the 90s, I was so blessed to have that beeper. Oh my God. I died and went to heaven. Somebody that was trying to call me could buzz me, and I could stop at a gas station and for a dime call them. Now I got a phone that has more technology than Apollo 7. Pretty much tells me where to go, like some people in the city. Okay. And you know, pretty much makes coffee for me and talks to me and everything. You know, we have technology, we got to engage people. And by bringing people to the table and really caring about what you think. Don't think I discount ever when people come in front and say, you know, please try not to raise my taxes. But then you got another group saying that, you know, we more teachers are talking about all-day kindergarten. I think we got that fixed too, without a tax raise. But, you know, with budgets, you get victories and you get some defeats, and you try to do the thing. But here's the thing going forward. What are we going to do to improve our city? What are we going to do to confront the challenges that we have? I am confronting. No, it's not me. We are confronting, as a city, billions of dollars of necessary stormwater. We can't have people in fear every time the weather report comes in that we're going to have 4 inches of rain. We can't have public safety people move into another city. We can't have, you know, but once again, how do we go out and actually reach out to people? And I will continue to do this, probably right after the budget. And you know, I said it's done. I'm going to go out and I'm going to visit every district. No matter which way the budget turns out, I'm going to go out and make myself available to every district. Now you say, how do you do this? Well, if you recall, after I got sworn in, I had meetings in every district, a meet the mayor thing. And I'm going to do that again. Because I want to hear what you want to say about how should we go forward? How can we do things better? Because you know something, my friends, politicians are more effective when they do more listening than talking. And here I am at 45-minute mark. That's okay. You invited me to come. This is the state of the city. Okay? But I don't want this to be my vision. I want it to be our vision. Because when you have our vision, you have ownership. You feel like you're a proactive part of your city. And, you know, and I guess that's eventually where I want to go to. We are not going to go into agreement. Always be in agreement, but just going back because my ADD kind of diverted me before after the Mayor's Green Ribbon Commission. I am going to do a technology advisory committee.